working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on today's program. A powerful typhoon struck Guam on Wednesday, causing significant damage and leaving residents to assess the aftermath. Governor Leon Guerrero plans to evaluate the extent of the damage once conditions improve. State-run Weather Bureau Pagasa has forecast that Super Typhoon Mawar will bring monsoon rains to large parts of the country once it enters the Philippine area of responsibility during the weekend. The Department of Foreign Affairs is working in coordination with the Department of Migrant Workers for the repatriation of the deceased Filipino crew members from the fishing vessel that capsized in the Indian Ocean on May 16. And Tina Turner, the groundbreaking black rocker known for her powerful voice and captivating stage presence, passed away at the age of 83. Turner's 5-decade career, both as part of the duo Ike and Tina Turner and as a successful solo artist, left an indelible mark on the 20th century and the whole world. First in our news, a powerful typhoon struck Guam on Wednesday, causing significant damage, leaving residents to assess the aftermath. Governor Leon Guerrero plans to evaluate the extent of the damage once conditions improve. Take a look.
The president has been briefed on the typhoon and is continuing. We're going to continue to look at the impact that the typhoon will certainly have in Guam. The White House is in close contact with the government of Guam and has offered as much support as needed to respond to this tragic major storm.
Right now, I know that we have been through this storm since late last night, early morning, and on into the evening. What we are feeling right now is the eye going over the Rota Channel. And the hardest of the winds of this typhoon is what we are experiencing more so in the north, but also throughout the island. Stay home until I declare condition of readiness 4. Again, stay calm, stay informed, and stay safe.
The typhoon named Mawar made landfall on the southern coast of the island with sustained winds of up to 150 miles per hour and a storm surge reaching 10 feet. Power outages were reported in most of Guam's villages, while buildings were damaged or destroyed and low-lying areas experiencing flooding. Fortunately, no injuries or fatalities have been reported thus far. Governor Leon Guerrero declared a state of emergency and advised residents to stay indoors and avoid unnecessary travel. The typhoon is expected to move away from Guam and weaken, but heavy rains and strong winds will persist for several more hours. Guam is a small island in the Pacific Ocean, but it is home to a significant U.S. military presence. About 21,700 U.S. military personnel and their families are based on Guam, which routinely hosts nuclear attack submarines and long-range bombers. The territory is also home to key electronic listening posts, and the U.S. bases have some of the Pacific region's most significant ammunition and fuel storage facilities. According to the 2010 U.S. Census, there were 41,944 Filipinos living in Guam, and this represents 26.3% of the island's population. The number of Filipinos in Guam has been growing steadily in recent years. In 1990, there were only 23,111 Filipinos living on the island.
Half a day to the people of Guam. I want to once again thank you for your efforts in keeping yourself safe and protected. We have weathered the worst magnitude of typhoon. I have been in communication with the National Weather Services, and they will be lifting Typhoon Watch at 5 o'clock. As a result of this, and as a result of my assessment and my meeting with my team, I am now declaring Guam condition of readiness 4 effective 5 p.m. For all those critical and essential workers, please report to your supervisor or your director tomorrow. For others, please make sure you check with your supervisor or your director. Thank you again, and please be safe.
Meanwhile, state-run Weather Bureau Pagasa has forecast that Super Typhoon Mawar will bring monsoon rains to large parts of the country once it enters the Philippine area of responsibility during the weekend, which will bring rains over Mimaropa, Visayas, and Mindanao on Friday and Saturday. Take a look.
Sa layo ng 2,150 kilometers silangan ng Bicol Region as of 3 in the morning. So kung kahapon po typhoon ito, ngayon po ay lumakas muli bilang isang super typhoon at merong lakas na 185 kilometers per hour malapit dun sa kanyang mata at merong pagbugso na hanggang 230 kilometers per hour. Sa ngayon po ay kumikilos ito west-northwest at bahagyang bumilis with 15 kilometers per hour of movement. At ang current nito na lawak or diametro is nasa around 780 kilometers. Sa ngayon po, kung mapapansin nyo sa ating latest satellite animation, wala pong direct effect at napakalayo pa nitong si Bagyong Mawar sa ating kalupaan. Subalit may mga pag-ulan pa rin po as early as this morning dito sa may western sections of Southern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao dahil pa rin yan sa southwesterly wind flow o yung hangin po galing sa Timog Kanluran. Mas maraming lugar pa ang magkakaroon ng mga pag-ulan pagsapit po ng hapon hanggang sa gabi na sinamahan na rin po ng mga localized thunderstorms. Ito po yung pinakahuli track ng Pag-asa regarding po kay Super Typhoon Mawar. So kung mapapansin po nila, simula Wednesday hanggang Friday ay kikilos ito generally west-northwest or kanluran, hilagang kanluran at mananatili po as a super typhoon. So mananatiling malakas pa rin po ito. Nakalampas na ito ng southern portion of Guam at nananatiling malayo sa ating kalupaan for the next 2 days, walang direct effect sa ating bansa. Posibleng pumasok ito ng Philippine Area of Responsibility Friday ng gabi hanggang Sabado po ng madaling araw at papangalanan natin ito na Betty o yung pangalawang bagyo for 2023 at unang bagyo naman for the month of May. Samantala, pagsapit po ng weekend, Sabado at Linggo, inaasahang kikilos pa rin ito northwestward at unti-unti nagkakaroon na ng epekto sa ating bansa. Sa paglapit ito sa ating kalupaan, posible na ito magdala ng matataas na mga pag-alon over the eastern seaboards of the country at unti-unti rin pong magpapa-enhance ng habagat or southwest monsoon. So magdadala ito ng mas maraming lugar po na uulanin sa susunod po na 3 araw. So pinaka-apektado yung western sections of Southern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao for the next 2 days. And over the weekend hanggang sa mga susunod pa na araw next week, ay magkakaroon na rin po ng mga pag-ulan na minsan malalakas over the western sections of Luzon and Visayas. Kung mapapansin din po nila, meron po tayo ditong tinatawag na cone of probability. So, ang ibig sabihin po nito, hindi ito ibig sabihin na ganito kalawak yung bagyo. No? Pagsapit po ng weekend, inaasahan lamang po na posibleng umakyat ng bahagya or bumaba ng bahagya yung track natin nitong si Super Typhoon Mawar. So hindi rin natin inaalis yung possibility po na lumapit pa dito sa may Cagayan Valley, sa may extreme northern Luzon, yung sentro o yung mata mismo nitong si Super Typhoon Mawar, pero hindi rin natin inaalis yung possibility na umakyat ito bahagya at hindi natatama or makaka-apekto pa directly sa ating kalupaan.
Super Typhoon Mawar, expected to be renamed Betty upon entering the Philippine area of responsibility, is anticipated to bring significant weather impacts across the country. Pag-asa weather specialist Benison Estareja has stated that Mawar's rain bands could influence Cagayan Valley from Sunday to Tuesday, prompting the possibility of raising signal number 1 in these areas. The Department of Foreign Affairs is working in coordination with the Department of Migrant Workers for the repatriation of the deceased Filipino crew members from the fishing vessel that capsized in the Indian Ocean on May 16. Out of the 39 crew members on board the FV Lu Pengyuan U-028, 5 were Filipinos, while the rest comprised of 17 Chinese and 17 Indonesians. The DFA's Office of Migrant Workers Affairs is closely monitoring the progress of the case. On May 18, an Indian Maritime Patrol discovered the overturned fishing vessel approximately 1,000 kilometers south of Sri Lanka, and this information was relayed to search and rescue assets. Numerous SAR operations involving 12 vessels and 6 aircraft from Australia, China, India, Sri Lanka, and other countries were carried out. However, adverse weather conditions hampered the SAR efforts. Due to the length of time since the vessel capsized, the operations transitioned to search and recovery operations on May 23. While several bodies were retrieved during the efforts, their nationalities remain unidentified. In tonight's other news, the Secretary General spoke at the High-Level Security Council meeting on the protection of civilians in armed conflict. He said that armed conflict is a key factor driving food insecurity around the world. Last year, more than 170 million people faced acute hunger primarily because of war and insecurity. The Secretary General warned that halfway through the timeline of the 2030 agenda, we are leaving more than half the world behind. Poverty and hunger are again growing, the climate crisis is escalating, and conflict and persecution have forced 100 million people from their homes. Take a look.
War means hunger. Armed conflict is a key factor driving food insecurity around the world. Last year, more than 117 million people faced acute hunger primarily because of war and insecurity. And this is an outrage. Damage to critical infrastructure hampers food production, blocks distribution, and deprives people of safe water. The climate crisis, harvests shrink, and people go hungry. I saw this for myself during my recent visit to Somalia. After years of war, Somalis have been going through their worst drought in decades. The Black Sea Initiative and Memorandum of Understanding to promote Russian food and fertilizers to global markets help to stabilize markets, bringing down prices and ease the food crisis. I welcome the Russian Federation's confirmation that it will continue to participate in the Black Sea Initiative for another 60 days. But outstanding issues remain. Mr. President, these modest steps are welcome. But the terrible truth is that the world is failing to live up to its commitments to protect civilians, commitments enshrined in international humanitarian law. We must intensify our efforts to prevent conflict, protect civilians, preserve peace, and find political solutions to war. In the coming weeks, I will issue a policy brief on a new agenda for peace in preparation for the next year's Summit of the Future.
In tonight's other news, the World Health Organization Council on the Economics of Health for All has released its first ever report, outlining a bold new path to reorient economies to deliver what matters, health for all. Our North America correspondent, Rose Papa Angeles, reports from Washington, D.C.
The WHO Council on the Economics of Health for All puts forward a new narrative to reorient economies on delivering health for all across 4 interrelated themes: valuing and measuring what matters through new economic metrics, financing health for all as a long-term investment and not a short-term cost, advancing health innovation for the common good, and strengthening dynamic public sector capacity to achieve health for all. Launched in conjunction with the 76th World Health Assembly, the report provides a new framework built on these 4 pillars.
So are we more prepared now than before? The report says no, because we have not treated health for all seriously. We have not designed business models. We have not designed government structures. We have not designed public-private partnerships to be outcomes-oriented. Of course we care about growth, but we need to direct that growth to be inclusive and sustainable, problem-oriented, people-centered, planet-centered, and guess what? Ironically, we actually I should whisper, grow more when we do it that way, but grow with a direction. So really going back to issues of how we do capitalism. This is not just about, oh, throw money to the developing world. No, the developing world will benefit if we do capitalism differently, if we do corporate governance differently, if we do public-private partnerships differently, if we do finance and the structures of finance differently. So it's really a call to arms and an inspirational one. This isn't about an us versus them. This is, we truly are in this together, hopefully, really rethinking a lot of these underlying structures. And again, that's also what makes our report different from previous ones.
The landmark report is called Health for All, Transforming Economies to Deliver What Matters. WHO Chief Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says this is a roadmap for structuring economic activity in a way to reach the goal of seeing all people with access to essential health services faster with better results.
The report implores the world to stop using GDP as the measurement of progress. It doesn't account for the vast resources that go into unpaid work, which is often the backbone of economic and social activity. Second, it calls on countries and funding agencies to stop straitjacketing low and middle-income countries via austerity measures which prohibit investment in health. It calls instead on financing for health to be both adequate and sustained over the long term. Third, the Council noted that innovation works best when there are vibrant partnerships between the public and private sectors.
From Washington, D.C., Rose Papa Angeles, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In other news, the United States, its Western allies, and Microsoft said today that a state-sponsored China cyber actor had infiltrated critical U.S. infrastructure networks and warned that similar activities could be occurring globally. The Joint Cybersecurity Advisory released by authorities from the U.S., Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK highlights a recently uncovered pattern of concerning activities attributed to a cyber actor affiliated with the People's Republic of China, known as Volt Typhoon. Microsoft, in a separate statement, disclosed that Volt Typhoon has been operational since mid-2021, targeting critical infrastructure, particularly in Guam, a strategically vital U.S. military outpost located in the Pacific Ocean. Assessing the situation, Microsoft expressed moderate confidence that the Volt Typhoon campaign aims to develop capabilities that could potentially disrupt crucial communications infrastructure between the U.S. and the Asia region in future crisis. The warning comes amid growing tensions between the U.S. and China. The two countries have been engaged in a trade war for more than a year, and there are concerns that the conflict could escalate into a military conflict. The Chinese government has denied any involvement in the cyber attacks. However, the U.S. government has accused China of sponsoring a number of cyber attacks in recent years, including the theft of intellectual property from American companies. In other news, the United States has committed over $7.2 billion in new funding for the Pacific region as part of its efforts to counter China's growing influence in the region. The funding will be used for a variety of purposes, including economic development, security assistance, and climate change adaptation. It will also be used to support the U.S. military presence in the region. Our correspondent from Papua New Guinea, Ecor Telesa Quinola, reports from Port Moresby.
The dialogue highlights the United States working with Congress for over $7.2 billion in new funding and programs for the Pacific regions. State Secretary Antony Blinken announces the lines of efforts that the United States commits to the Pacific Islands countries. These include delivering on the United States-Pacific Islands Partnership, expanding people-to-people connections, climate actions, clean energy, sustainable infrastructure, economic partnership, and bolstering security cooperation, including maritime domain awareness. Meanwhile, Blinken and Palau President Honorable Sorangel Whips Jr. signed a compact of review agreement.
Today's agreement we're about to sign will ensure that this partnership continues to deliver for our people, including by tackling the climate crisis, promoting sustainable economic development, bolstering our security. These same goals animate the agreement that we'll sign with the Federated States of Micronesia and the one that we're working hard to finalize with the Republic of the Marshall Islands.
Palau is now among the Pacific nations for which the United States retains responsibility on defense and to which provides economic assistance.
This all means really a stronger and more resilient economy for the lives of our people. And this new assistance will balance the unique arrangement between our nations, strengthening our partnership and really enabling it to last.
This while gaining exclusive access to Pacific in return. Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Thanks, Echo. Meanwhile, Tina Turner, the groundbreaking rocker known for her powerful voice and captivating stage presence, passed away at the age of 83. Turner's 5-decade career, both as part of the duo Ike and Tina Turner and as a successful solo artist, left an indelible mark on the 20th century. Emerging from humble beginnings in Tennessee, Turner overcame personal struggles, including a tumultuous marriage to Ike Turner, to become the queen of rock and roll. Her triumphant comeback after escaping the abusive relationship solidified her status as a music survivor. Turner's breakout moment came with her 1984 album, Private Dancer, featuring the Grammy-winning hit What's Love Got to Do With It? Her talent and stage presence captivated audiences worldwide, setting attendance records and inspiring countless performers. Tributes poured in from around the world as the music's biggest names mourned the loss of this iconic and instantly recognizable performer. Swiss President Alain Berset acknowledged the loss of the icon, while in the U.S., President Joe Biden recognized Turner's immense impact on American music and praised her strength in overcoming adversity. Mariah Carey described Turner as a legendary superstar and an inspiration to women everywhere. Angela Bassett, who portrayed Turner in a biopic, praised her for using her own experiences to bring about positive change. Basketball legend Magic Johnson posted a picture with the songstress, whom he said was one of my favorite artists of all time. I've seen her many, many times, and hands down, she gave one of the best live shows I've ever seen. She always gave you your money's worth, he tweeted. NASA also paid tribute to Turner's incredible talent, resilience, and lasting legacy. And former President Barack Obama was among those who paid the most poignant tributes. Tina Turner was raw, she was powerful, she was unstoppable, he wrote, and she was unapologetically herself, speaking and singing her truth through joy and pain, triumph and tragedy. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.